The Icons of Real Estate Podcast. Are you ready to learn the proven money-making secrets from top-producing icon agents? Ready to skyrocket your business? This podcast is for you. Tune in every week with your host, Tomasz Fonseca, and find out how to implement proven strategies to 10 times your business. From $3 million to $30 million in just 12 months. Brought to you by the Masters at Real Estate Marketing, Arter SEO.
Welcome to the Icons of Real Estate. I'm Tim Calloway. We have a very special guest for you today out of the Sunshine State from Pensacola, Florida, Paula Snow, eXp Realty. How are you, Paula?
I'm great. Thank you so much. How are you, Tim?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. So Pensacola, Florida, 300,000 people a year moving in. Got to keep you busy. Tell us how you got started in real estate.
So I'm originally from Toronto, Canada, and I was actually a flight attendant up in Toronto, and I did that for about 3 years. And after doing that for a while, my flights were typically the overseas flights, like to Europe. And this is like going way, way back. This is like 20 something years ago. So this is like pre-internet days. So when we went overseas and we were stuck overseas, I mean, we had like no internet. So the night flights really wore me down. So after doing them for 3 years, I was like, I need my sleep. I love my sleep.
Yeah.
I was like, I can't keep doing this. And so at the time, my boyfriend back then, he was a hairdresser, and he said, "Hey, I have a client who's in real estate, and I think you'd be good in real estate. Why don't you give it a try?" I didn't have a plan B for my life other than being a flight attendant. So I was like, okay. So I jumped into real estate, and fast forward, here we are 20 something years later.
Wow. And you're still not sleeping because you're so busy listing people's homes and selling homes.
No, now I'm sleeping for sure.
now,
So
now you're like 3-day weekends.
yeah, I wish.
Around, taking
Yeah.
courses. Yeah. No, that's fascinating in itself, though. Just I could sit here and talk about you being a flight attendant for half an hour. Yeah, but that's a bold move, you know. I mean, it really is to go from something that whether you call it secure or not, working as a flight attendant, or moving into real estate, which that's a big, that's a big move and a big risk. Did you go to eXp immediately, or did you work
No.
for one of the boxes? I call them boxes, like they're walls or something. But
So it was 22 years ago, and eXp did not exist back then. I wish it would have existed because it's definitely been a blessing to me now. But so 20 something years ago, I went with Remax. I was with Remax for maybe 2 years. And then, excuse me, then I moved to the US. I lived in Maryland, and I joined like a little mom and pop shop, and I was on their team for a couple of years. And then we moved to Florida in 2005. And so I've been in Florida ever since. And then coming to Florida at the time, when I took a few years off, I had my twins were born in 2006. So I stayed home.
Yeah.
Thank you. So I stayed home with them for about 3 years. And then after 3 years, I was ready to go back to work. I don't know if I'm sure you remember, foreclosures and short sales were a big thing back then.
Yeah.
So I went with a local company that was big in foreclosures and short sales. I really wanted to learn that side of the market. And I did that with them for maybe a couple of years, and then opened up my own brokerage for a few years.
Nice.
And then I stumbled upon eXp and have been here for about 5 years now.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, it's still your own brokerage, though, ultimately.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Without all the extra. And that was really one of the tough things of having my own brokerage, was just that I was like, it was a one man or one woman operation. I was like selling, I was coaching other agents. I was like managing the office. I was tech support for agents.
Right.
I mean, just too many hats, too much for one person. And
Right.
so I figured at eXp, I could definitely still kind of have that team concept of helping other agents without all the other added responsibilities.
Well, not only that, I know with EXP, you can get paid for doing that now. So, you
Yes.
know,
Yeah.
big difference. You're not just
Yeah.
getting that phone call going, okay, yeah, I'd love to help. Oh, you're halfway across the world? Great.
Mhm.
Used to, they had to be in your backyard for you to get really get something
Yeah.
back. Now, I remember the day I woke up and I realized, I have a for others mentality would lead to better things in my life. And that's what I like about EXP so much, because so much sharing internally. There's none of this, well, I'm keeping the secret sauce to myself.
Yeah.
When you first started as a realtor, you're like, okay, what do I do? Maybe you have a mentor, maybe you don't. Either way, though, that's a lot to bear, especially if you
Yeah.
come from another profession that had nothing to do with listing or selling or buying the biggest purchase in someone's life.
Mhm.
So tell me how you go about today. Are you solo now, or do you have a team, or how is that looking?
So my husband joined me in real estate about a couple of years ago,
Okay.
and so it's him and myself. We're a team, and so we're kind of like
Nice.
in EXP. We're kind of like what's called a self-organized team. So we, provide some of the agents in our organization with leads. However, we're not an official team structure where
Gotcha.
I have to take a split out of all of their transactions. So it's kind of like, here's some leads to help you get started. And then of course I like teach them how to build their own business. But so then technically we fall as a self-organized team.
Nice. Nice.
Mhm.
I'm gonna ask, and I've been married 32 years, and I have had multiple businesses, still do. And my wife has been there the whole way, not always agreeing with me. Tell me about that dynamic a little bit, Paula. I mean, it just at the end of the day, when you're sitting down for dinner, whether it's inside, outside the home, is it just integrated, as part of your life to have those discussions? Or I know some, like the funk team, they're like, at the end of the day, we don't talk about business once we hit this level. How about you guys?
Yeah, yeah, that has definitely been a work in progress because initially, of course, usually the person coming on, the newer person, which was my husband,
Hmm.
they're super excited about this
Yeah.
new career choice. And so they want to talk real estate 24/7. And for me, I've now at that point when he came on, I'd been doing this for 20 years. I don't want to talk real estate 24/7. So we definitely kind of had to figure out how to like balance things out where it's like, okay, when we go to sleep at night, when we're in bed at 11 o'clock, I don't want to be talking about like the issue of this transaction or that transaction. So we kind of had to have some conversations to set some boundaries of like, let's do real estate, but let's not totally let it like, invade our family time. And it's a work in progress. I'm going to be honest and say, I don't want to make it sound like it's perfect and we discussed the boundaries and then it's now, no, it's still a work in progress. So sometimes, like, if, on a Saturday morning, I might want to sleep in and my
Yeah.
husband might want to wake me up with a real estate question. And it's like, no, I want to sleep in this morning.
But
So so that's just the reality. I want to be totally honest.
yeah,
It's not perfect, but when we did decide to be, a team, like a husband and wife team, I
yeah,
asked other couples at EXP, I'm like, that were husband and wife. So this is what I recommend other people do is look to other people that are already doing it and ask them any tips, any advice, what works, what doesn't work. And the common thread that I heard from other couples was separate your tasks. So figure out what his strengths are, figure out what my strengths are, and then, he can run a certain area, I'll run another area. And that way we're not like stepping over each other all the time. And
right.
that has been probably the golden nugget that I heard. So that, right now, Jeff is off with a client. And so certain transactions, he will handle them from beginning to end. I will handle other transactions. And then that way we've each got some separate stuff going on.
Yeah. I didn't mean to laugh so much when you said that, but all I could think was Paula's husband getting up nice and early, getting ready to go for the day, and you're snoozing away, and he's like,
Yes.
so where's this home at I'm supposed to
Yes.
show? And you're like,
Yeah.
leave me alone. He goes, no,
Yeah.
really, I need to know where the home is.
Yeah,
So
actually, now that I think about it, it wasn't even like I now I remember it was not even that he woke me up on an early morning. It was like, I think a Saturday afternoon. I was going to have a little siesta.
yeah,
I, I had just laid down, just fallen asleep, and he comes in, taps me on the feet, and I was like, I just fell asleep, like,
yeah,
what is it? So yeah,
I'm tired.
yes.
I don't blame you a bit. I don't blame you a bit. So tell me about how you prospect in Pensacola. I mean, I was gonna call you a snowbird earlier because you said, "Oh, I'm from Toronto, and came down to Florida." And I was like, "Oh, you snowbirds," because you know exactly what that is, and
Yes.
not everybody else does. But how do you go about prospecting? Are you prospecting in other areas that people are coming from? Like we get a lot of East Coast, obviously. In Pensacola, you might get a
Yeah.
lot of Texas, coming from the West. How do you guys go about that?
Well, I will say, thankfully, I've been working here now for just over 10 years in
Oh,
Florida.
yeah.
So thankfully, I've built a great database. And my big thing from day one was I'm a relationship person. I love people. I love to take care of my clients. I will do whatever it takes to go above and beyond. And I want to create a memorable experience where at the end of the day, there is like when somebody asks them a real estate question, I want to be the name that they think of, for referrals, for anything. So thankfully, at this point, we've built a good database where I want to say like 90% of our transactions last year came from repeat and referral. And then, sphere of influence. So at this point, thankfully, we're not prospecting much. We're doing a little bit of farming,
Hmm.
but our big thing is client follow up. So right now we're in the middle of, we try to do our 2 client events a year, and then we stay in touch with the clients throughout the year. So right now we do like a pie event every, right before Thanksgiving. We give away the
Hmm.
Thanksgiving pies,
Yeah.
and we call it pie and ice cream because we do it at an ice cream shop.
Nice.
So basically, right now we're like we've sent out the invitations. We have followed up with the clients that didn't respond to get a response, figure out what kind of pie everybody wants. We go get those. And so I have found that just between doing that, and then I send out my recipe postcard throughout the year, and then I'll do a few pop buys here or there, kind of like for the people that are not plugging into an event. And so between just really nurturing the database, even if they don't come to an event, they always say like they appreciate us staying in touch with them.
Right. Yeah, that's what it's really about, right? The ongoing communication.
Yeah.
So many realtors I talk to are like, I really become friends with most of my clients, and
Yes.
I become friends, and they want to help me. And
Mhm.
that's at the end of the day. I think I'd rather be judged by that if I'm going to be judged. I'd rather be judged by that than say, oh, I was number one in,
Yeah.
in Florida. I was number one on the East Coast. No,
Right.
I'd rather say I got 22 referrals, and
Hmm.
I closed 22 deals based on referrals or whatever that might be. That's the testament. It's
Yeah.
like comparing the Oscars to the People's Choice Awards. It's like the Oscars is amongst me and my friends, they're going to vote on who's the best,
Yeah.
as opposed to the People's Choice, as amongst all the people that I'm supposed to be creating this for, they
Mhm.
decide who's the best. And
Right.
that's
Yeah.
more important, I think. So if I were to come up to Pensacola, and you and your husband and I sat down, we had a nice margarita by the shore, and we're talking, and I said, "Hey guys, I got my magic wand here. I can solve any problem you guys have in your business. Is there something I could solve for you?"
I
Okay, that's
don't
my
know.
one curveball question for you.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
don't know that there is. I mean, maybe like of course, the market. the past 2 years was absolutely crazy. So had you have asked me that question 4 months ago, my answer would probably have been just like family balance and time. There was
Hmm.
just we were working so much. The market was insanely crazy for the past 2 years. So like 2 years of go, 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 it wore on us.
Yeah.
And so now that the market has softened, I'm loving it because all of a sudden I feel like I'm getting back, like I'm getting pieces of my life back. Like I'm still working and I'm busy, but it's a healthy busy. I can still cook dinner, and I don't cook
Yeah.
every night, but I could still cook dinner some nights, and we could sit down as a family some nights. And this year health has been really important to me, and so I have time. Like this morning I went to the gym. I've taken up pickleball, and so I play pickleball a few nights of the week.
You
And
and
so
Tom Brady.
so it's just there's a nice balance now, but for the past 2 years, time was our issue. Not enough time. Things were not balanced out. Like too much work, too little family time for me.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Well, I'm glad there's a balance there now for sure. I mean,
Yes.
that's what's most paramount. That in your pickleball game. I
Yes.
could talk another 30 minutes about pickleball. Only because it's
Yes.
just take that's why I said you and Tom Brady. I mean, he's a professional pickleball player. And I'm like, okay. I've been to a couple of pickleball courts, and I get it. It's interesting, it's fun. I mean, I like badminton, I
Yeah.
can't ever see large groups of people or a Tom Brady going, I'm now the president of the badminton association. It's
Yeah.
just kind of funny.
Yeah. Oh, it is. It's the largest growing sport.
It is. Yeah.
It is, and I tell people it is so much fun that you don't even realize you're getting a workout. I mean, when I'm
Right.
out there playing pickleball, my watch is showing me my heart rate is getting up sometimes to like 160,
Isn't that
165.
crazy?
Yeah, so I'm getting an amazing workout, but yet I'm having so much fun, so it doesn't feel like a workout.
Right.
So, yeah, I love pickleball.
Yeah, I think and I think part of it is, and I don't know how, I'll tell you how old I am, and I'll keep it at that. I'm 52, so
Okay.
it's more difficult. And I grew up a wrestler. I coached wrestling, played football, things like that.
Okay.
Typical, typical, typical. I was going to mention that you'd moved to Maryland, and I
Mhm.
graduated high school in Maryland, as a matter of
Oh,
fact. What
cool.
part of Maryland did you
We were
go
in Waldorf. Waldorf, it was Charles County,
to?
south of DC.
Okay, so close to where I was in Columbia. So
Okay, yeah.
yeah, so I mean, right between DC and Baltimore. So
Yep.
yeah, but so now a sport like pickleball, where it's a close ranged, it's not like tennis where you're, far back, you're doing a lot of that impact on your knees.
Yeah.
And I think that's why people of certain group, whether you call it by age or not, like pickleball, because you do get that stretching, as Tom Brady would
Yeah.
say. It's all about mobility, right? And
Mhm.
so yeah, great sport. I think more people should pick it up, and it's better than cornhole, which seems to be taking over everywhere. And I was like, all right, just like bowling, if I can drink a beer, have a cigar, and eat a pizza and play this, it's not a sport. But
Yeah, yeah. Well, it could be a sport, but
I
I don't
guess.
want to be having beer and pizza several nights a week.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right, right. So let's put our prognostication hats on real quick. What does Team Paula look like? The next 1, 3, and 5 years. Is there a blueprint out for that, or what's the goal there?
So I mean, the goal is definitely well, one of our goals every year, of course, is increase our average sales price,
Okay.
which in the Pensacola area, homes here are probably some of the lowest priced homes in all of Florida.
Hmm.
So if I were to look back 10 years ago, I was having to sell a ton of homes to make, the this amount. And so thankfully now the price range has gone up a little bit. So for me, it's always about work-life balance. Balance is such an important part of my life. And so one of the goals is definitely increase the price range, probably tap into some more of the luxury market
Mhm.
and maybe do a lower amount of transactions while increasing the price range. So therefore, we're not having to spend as much time working as we have in the past.
Perfect answer. I would say, and this is going to sound a bit selfish, Paula, but I think you can understand where I'm coming from. As a resident of Southeast Florida, uh,
Mhm.
I don't understand why anybody would move here. Okay, and I love it here. Don't get me
Mhm.
wrong. But when I look at the price difference between the two areas, where,
Yeah.
obviously you probably could buy something in the $500,000 dollar range in
Yeah.
Pensacola that's very nice, and
Yes.
you buy that here, and all of a sudden it's 1.5 million, it's three times as
Yeah.
much, and you're getting, in my opinion, a, sometimes a lot more. And
Yeah.
demographic wise, the same people, uh,
Mhm.
topography wise, more trees where you're
Mhm.
at. I mean, you get like a forest effect in some of the area,
Mhm.
and you get probably even prettier water, in
Yeah. Oh,
some
yeah,
areas. And I'm like,
absolutely.
yeah, the Emerald Coast area and everything else. And I'm like, why don't more Northeasterners, especially because that's the majority of the 300,000 that move in every year, look at the Panhandle? I know people from Texas, Louisiana, the people that
Yeah.
migrate from the West do. My parents are thinking, of that area. And I'm like, wow, why are you coming here? We are bottomed out here in
Yeah.
Southeast Florida. So, go to the Panhandle or something. And that's
I
not a
think,
derogatory way of saying it.
yeah,
It actually makes more sense.
yeah,
I'm a little bit like, I kind of wish I would have made a different choice. And
yeah.
I don't
I
think I
think
got
a lot of people just don't know. Like
I don't know.
we've kind of been a little
Off the
hidden, kept
radar.
secret. Yeah,
Hmm.
for the longest time. I mean, even when I lived up in Toronto, and I mean, sometimes we would take a vacation down in Miami, you just
Hmm.
always seem to think about like Central or South Florida. It's like the
Right.
rest of Florida, hasn't been as popular, but I think it's getting more popular. I mean, there is definitely a difference here from when I moved here in '05. And so sometimes that's like an issue with locals that have been here for a long time. They don't like all the people that are
They don't.
moving. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
they don't.
you hear people say, hey, for everybody that moved here 2 years ago, they should go back to where they came from. And it's like, okay, well,
Not
unless you're
nice.
yeah, I know, but if you're not a native to here, there's very few natives. Like a lot of people are transplants. And so,
Everybody's a transplant, it seems.
right. Yeah, the majority are, but yeah, that's one of the things we fight here is people will complain about all the growth and they don't want any change. They want it to stay like it was, which nothing stays the same.
Nothing stays the same. Then you
Yeah.
start sounding like those up in Martha's Vineyard or something. They're like, not here.
Yeah.
And that's not how Florida is. And we saw this, I think, for the first time. And I never make my show political, but for the first time, Miami always said, we're not Florida, right? That's almost their motto. We're not
Mm.
Florida. And there's a reason for that. The demographic of Miami. My son goes to the University of Miami. He's a PhD
Cool.
student there, and he'll tell you and his girlfriend, we're not Florida. And
Interesting.
but for the first time this year, and I think politics had something to do with this. One time I'll bring it up. For the first time, I see a real unified Florida. And,
Yeah.
there's a lot of mutual respect up and down the coast. And you don't hear that as much anymore. Like, go
Mm.
home, New Yorker. It's not
Yeah.
like that. It's more like, welcome, here, we can all live equally together, no matter if you're from
Mhm.
Toronto or you're from Southeast Texas, like me originally. I mean, we can all get along and live symbiotic in our area. So I'm real proud of that because I'm not a native to here, and
Mhm.
nobody has made me feel any different. But yeah, I think do you consider yourself part of the Emerald Coast? I mean, is that still Pensacola part of that, or
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
we are definitely the
so
Emerald
awesome.
Coast.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it's so awesome. We go
Yeah.
there, people laugh at us. They're like, why do you go up there? when you live on the water. And I'm like, it's a different
Oh,
vibe.
yeah.
It's
Yeah,
a
it's
different vibe.
beautiful here.
It's
I mean, I'll
beautiful.
tell you, I went through a divorce in 2010, and then I remarried in 15. And when I remarried, I told my husband, I said, hey, for our honeymoon, I would be happy to go to Destin. Like, I love
Right?
Destin. And I
Yes,
think, yeah, and my husband was
I
like,
do too.
we can't go to Destin. We
Or
have to
Crab
like go
Island.
somewhere.
Yeah.
And
To
so
hang out
we
on Crab Island and,
yeah.
and do all
Oh
that stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
But no, we didn't. We ended up, flying to Puerto Rico, which I love Puerto Rico. It's
Puerto
gorgeous.
Rico's
And we
great.
took a cruise. But
Nice.
then in all the beaches we went to, I said, honestly, I love our beaches probably more than all those other beaches we went to.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're lucky. We say that we get to live where people vacation.
Right. Exactly. And I feel the same way down
And
here.
you
My
do
my
as
other
well.
yeah, my other son lives in Orlando, which
Okay.
is the vacation capital of this
Yes.
country. And he loves
Yeah.
it. He has a master's in hospitality from UCF.
Okay.
So he's like, no, I'll never leave Orlando. And I'm like, I'll never leave Florida. I don't
Yeah.
know. I've lived all over the United States, believe it or not. I've lived in 27 states. And I will tell you right now, as as much fun as they make of Florida, or they can keep doing it as far as I'm concerned. But all the jokes and all the Florida man jokes and all the, oh, you're gonna get, you're gonna be underwater from a hurricane. I'm like, okay, enjoy the snow, enjoy whatever. I could find a million things wrong with every city in America, and I just
Mhm.
I just call it blatant jealousy. And that's Paula and my, you know, standing tall on Florida. So I'm real
Yeah.
happy for you for sure. But
Yeah. Thank
yeah,
you.
Destin's an awesome place to
Mhm.
have a good time for sure. I wish the rest of the state would design, and now we're getting like stuff only you and I and a few others know. But I wish the rest of the cities, including Tampa and including down here where I'm at, would build boardwalks like they have in Destin, the hotel row there. It's
Yeah.
so much fun and it's so festive, and every, 25 restaurants within,
Yeah.
this stretch of the coast, a beautiful beach if anybody hasn't been there. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, I wish the rest of Florida would follow a little bit of suit there. And it's
Yeah.
so, this was built in 1972, a lot of this here. But
Yeah. Right.
but yeah, well, so good stuff, really good stuff. So we kind of got an idea of what the future is looking like for you. What I'd like to do, well, two things before we round out here, Paula. One, how could someone get in touch with you?
You can call me, text me. You can find me on Instagram. So Instagram handle at Realtor Paula Snow. You can call me at 850-377-6098.
Okay.
Um, so usually one of those, just call me, text me, or find me on Instagram.
Okay, perfect, perfect. And I always allow my guests. I mean, you're the hit record. I'm the DJ spinning the records. I mean, it's all about you. Even though since we're both in Florida, we kind of went down that road. But uh, give me some sage advice. Tell me what you're thinking now in general that might help the overall listening public, whether it's something on your mind, your heart, your soul, something that's important to you that you would like to share. Take us out.
Yeah. So I would definitely say when I teach a class, if you're an EXP, I teach a class in the world. It's called Delivering Wow. It's all about delivering wow and creating a
Yeah.
wow experience for your customers. So some of the things I talk about early on is when agents are starting off in their business, sometimes they get so tied up in just looking for new business that they forget to take care of those relationships that they've already got. So even if you've done 10 transactions a year, stay in touch with those 10 people, because the second you let those relationships grow cold and you try to come back and warm them up maybe 3 years later, it's very so early on in your business, stay in touch with your people. Go for coffee. If you have time, if you're a newer agent, you probably have some time. Go for coffee. That's pretty inexpensive. And clients love to build relationship. They want to know they're working with someone that really cares about them.
Yeah.
And I say sometimes like breaking bread, we love to go, have lunch or dinner when we can with our clients. But if that's not in the budget, go for coffee with your clients, because those clients that I took the time and have broken bread with, they will become some of the most loyal clients who will refer usually the most amount of business to you.
Right. They're going to be your friends whether we like it or not.
Yes.
That's
Well,
the important thing.
you do get to pick. So
You
you
do.
pick someone to go to lunch or coffee that you like. If
Right.
there's not a real connection, then and the reality is that, you know, it's a numbers thing. So for us, we might have a difficult client every year, and that's okay. It's just a numbers thing, you know. Let's
Right.
say one we don't totally jive, but the other ones we fall in love with.
Perfect. I love it. Great sage advice, Paula. I look forward to catching up with you in the future. Maybe next time we're in and around
Likewise.
Pensacola,
Yeah.
see how things are going. Have a great weekend. Go down to Destin, have a good time, enjoy your family, and be safe.
Thank you, Tim. You too. Have a great weekend.
You too, Paula.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.